Welcome to the PrairieLand Advantage series about 9000 series conventional combines. This episode is talking about the separation action of the Walker Styles machine. One of the things we want to remind you is that an adjustment made early on in a machine will affect what the results you see further on back in the machine. And so that's why you see our index here, that if you want to just figure out where the rear axle position is, you would just go to the end of this video. Thank you for joining us today. This is Drew Lowry.
And I'm Dave Thiessen. And next, we're going to start off with a video about the theory of the threshing and the separating action in the straw walkers where the separation takes place.
In the walker area, Maximizer combines feature long straw walkers with 4 unique high-rise steps up front for aggressive tossing action of the material. The walkers need no adjustments, but to get the best performance, run your combine to keep a uniform and even material flow on them. However, if conditions put too heavy or thick a mat of material on the walkers, excessive walker losses may occur. When this happens, center-mounted risers can be quickly installed to help further break up heavy straw material. Center risers are also recommended in very light straw conditions to retard material flow for more separation.
In continuing on the discussion of straw walkers and the separation area of the conventional walker machine, we just want to remind everybody before they go to the harvest field to stop and look in the back of the walkers by opening up the engine access door panel and looking down through that door and checking to see if you have previous crop years, like this example is on the left of sunflower stalks, or on the right we have wheat material that's been built up in there. There are times through the harvest season where I would periodically stop and check that out in my daily servicing just to make sure that our walkers are fully open and available for all the separation capacity that we can achieve through them.
Next thing we want to talk about making sure the straw on those walkers is staying there the correct amount of time. Walker machines come with straw walker curtains. Now, please understand these are different from the curtains we talked about on the back of the separator grate. So, Dave, what's our advice on straw walker curtains?
Well, the straw walker curtains help direct the crop and keep it down on the walkers as soon as we can after the discharge beater has thrown it up and fluffed up and allowed that straw material to land back on the walkers. That first curtain at the front, just behind the discharge beater, is important to get that crop material on the walkers and down as soon as we can so we can get the full length of the walkers and the separation action to be in place. There is also a second position for the straw walker curtains farther back, and that curtain also needs to be in place just to make sure we're keeping that crop down on the walkers and not shortening up the amount of time that it's going to spend separating on those walkers. The straw walker risers, as mentioned in the video, increase the agitation time of the walkers and the fluffing of the crop to get that material to separate from each other, allowing that grain to fall through. And as I mentioned also, it takes a full set of straw walker risers, 4 per walker, to achieve maximum separation capacity. And I'll let Drew explain the crop flow process and timing.
Yeah, Dave, one of the things we've heard is that straw walker risers are going to help get grain out, but what if you suspect the crop is spending too much time on the straw walkers? One possible way to do that is tie strips of cloth to standing crop out in front of the header, harvest that crop through regular processes, and then your strips of cloth should be approximately in the area of where they were cut off in a pile of straw. You don't, of course, run them through the straw chopper. So that is one possible way to deduce that if your straw might be spending too much time on the walkers.
And if it was spending too much time, Drew, on the walkers, how would we reduce it?
Well, what I would do is, particularly if I had maybe too many straw walker risers, might be something to consider investigating.
We also have available on the back of the straw walker pan extensions that are there to catch kernels of grain and slide them back down underneath the walkers towards a cleaning chute. These extensions are easily unbolted and extended back if you feel like you have a straw walker loss that's uncontrollable. But we have to keep in mind that we have straw walkers there for the separation, and if we have complete heads that are not completely threshed, we need to go back to the concave and rasp bars and make sure that we've followed the adjustment series and videos of that. The straw walkers are in place to separate the crop and to agitate and get the grain to fall through. If we have a situation where we have straw walker losses that we can't control, we need to look at the threshing ability and what we've done with the rasp bar and the concaves. And the straw walker pans at the back are another way to extend the straw walkers and catch those last few kernels if we have a loss that we can't control or get within reason. The thing we got to think about with those straw walker extension pans is we also catch more material other than grain and cause it to fall forward and land on our chaffer, increasing its load also.
One thing to consider is that walker combines tend to work best with the back end combine a little high or at least level. One way to affect that adjustment is with the lower holes shown here in blue on your rear axle height. So when possible, it's usually best to have the back end of the walker combines running a little higher than the front, and so they're a little nose down orientation.
Since the 50 series straw walkers came out from the factory, they had cornhead grease in them. The hose that you see here is no longer on those machines. So on prior to 50 series machines, 9000 series walkers, we'd advise and recommend to have that hose checked and removed, because what happens is those hoses get brittle and then the oil drains out of the gear case. It takes one tube of cornhead grease in that straw walker gear case after we've drained 80-90 weight oil out, and then we put a plug in so no more grease can be added, and we make sure that we stay with cornhead grease because it flows when it gets warmed up. The other thing to think about on straw walkers is with metal straw walker blocks is the daily servicing and keeping them greased and lubricated for good wearability. As you can see on the lower right-hand corner there, we have the rear walker block Zer, and up on the top we have the front walker extension hose that goes to the front walker blocks. In the daily servicing, I would encourage you to count the number of pumps it takes to the rear walker blocks and then do the same for the front straw walker blocks, so that you know when the grease is purging out how much it took, so you can grease the front walker blocks the same. That concludes the PrairieLand Partners Advantage on the straw walker separation of the 9000 series conventional machine, and this is how we deliver the right solution.